Shalom. My name is Rabbi Gail Schuster-Buskila, and today I'd like to talk to you about a few of the ideas in Parashat Vayigash, the 11th parasha or Torah portion in the book of Genesis. And I'm going to deal in particular with Jacob and the problems that Jacob had in his life, and how the problems that he had changed him and affected him at the end of his life. I'm going to begin here on my website for Midrash.Harabah with the Midrash for Vayigash, which I've entitled A Hard Knock's Life. I don't really deal with the entire portion. If you'd like to read the entire portion, I highly recommend Sefaria, where you have a website that puts the Hebrew and the English one next to the other. I'm going to begin actually in the middle of my Midrash in Genesis chapter 45, verses 26, 27, and 28. They told him that Joseph was alive, and he was ruling over all of Egypt. His heart failed him because he could not believe them. They spoke to him of all the things Joseph had told them. They showed him the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him. Jacob's spirit was revived. Yisrael said, "Enough, my son lives. I will go to see him before I die." My midrash will continue here. But their father, Jacob, didn't pronounce any words to hint of his feelings at the news of his son Joseph. More tears than words flowed out of him. Once he had schemed elaborate schemes, first against his brother Esau and his father Isaac, and later his father-in-law Laban. Endless streams of tears engulfed in a gripping mist of agony after he lost Rachel and then Joseph. He carried those two loved ones around with him wherever he went, like a heavy mist over a field. No sunlight could penetrate enough to diffuse the dim light that constantly engulfed. If no prayers were recited to beg for Joseph's safe return, why was there no hymn of praise or exaltation when he heard that Joseph was alive? No rush of feeling to express his relief. It was like a safe, pried open years and years after the treasured hope had been locked away. The value of that treasure had no earthly price, so great and awesome the value of it on that day. Jacob said to Pharaoh, "The number of my years come to 130. They have been terrible, and I have not achieved the number of years of my two forefathers." From Genesis chapter 47. I have another idea about Parashat Vayigash, and it deals with shattered assumptions. I'll discuss that in a few minutes, but I'm going to use the beautiful drawings for Jacob from Gustav Dore, and also from an artist called Zuallart. And what we have here is a young man who is being blessed by his father. His mother is keeping watch, as we know, just in case Esau should come back, because this blessing does not belong to him. It belongs to Esau. That was in Parashat Toldot, Genesis 27. As the story goes on, Jacob runs away from home, and he finds himself in a dream. You can see here in the bottom left corner. And all the things behind him are a fantastical dream in Parashat Vayetze, Genesis 28, with the heavenly ladder, or in this case staircase, with angels going up and down, and God supposedly is up at the top. Again, this is supposed to be a dream. But reality sets in when Jacob meets Rachel for the first time. He's far away from home, but he is certainly smitten in Genesis 29, Parashat Vayegash. On his way back to see Esau after he leaves his father-in-law's house, he decides to pray. And he prays for protection from the hand of Esau. Another assumption that he was going to have problems with Esau. Again, he has a dream, and in this dream, he struggles with the messenger. We assume it's a dream. And at that point, his name becomes Israel or Israel. And that's in Parashat Vayishlach, Genesis 32. He hasn't met Esau yet, but he's still afraid. But when he reunites with Esau, you see the two brothers that have fallen in each other's arms. And all the things that they were worried about, or he was worried about, and his wives and the children were worried about, were just not realistic. In Genesis 33, also Vayishlach. And then Rachel dies. And here is the big break in his life, probably the biggest break in his life before Joseph disappears in Genesis 35, Vayishlach, drawn by Jean Zuallart in 1587, a Belgian artist, and he went on a trip, a pilgrimage to the land of Israel, and this is what he saw outside of Bethlehem, which is, as it says, Rachel's tomb. A horrible, difficult place for Jacob. And finally, after he is told that his son is still alive, his son Joseph is still alive and in Egypt and ruling over everything, at the end of Parashat Vayigash, Jacob goes to Egypt. But this is an odd photo. Many people in the foreground, sheep, most everyone are coming towards us. There is one man to the left in the front whose back is to us, but he's pointing off to our left, whereas Jacob, he isn't looking forward. He seems to be looking in the other way, but his face seems to be one of sadness, maybe even depression. And this is what I talked about in the title for this little discussion of my Midrash, that all the things that he thought were going to happen were lost. Professor Joan of American professor, discusses this loss of the assumptive world. And she defines the assumptive world this way. The assumptive world concept refers to the assumptions or beliefs that ground, secure, stabilize, and or orient people. They are our core beliefs. In the face of death and trauma, these beliefs are shattered, and disorientation and even panic can enter the lives of those affected. In essence, the security of their beliefs has been aborted. I see that here, that all the things that were promised to Jacob in the beginning seem to have disappeared. The love he had had with his wife, gone. He was going to be taken at this point down to Egypt to see his son Joseph, but he'd spent so many, many years mourning him. It changed him. Those things changed him. My heart goes out to Jacob in those hours where he is riding towards Joseph, riding away from all the pain and anguish that he had experienced. But it can't really compensate for anything to see his son. It won't return the pain and suffering of those years. In any case, his wife isn't there. And that's probably why he says to Pharaoh, the number of my years come to 130. They've been few and terrible, and I have not achieved the number of years of my forefathers. He had a very, very sad and hard life. And this is the verses that show us the end of his life. In the next parasha, we will hear about the blessings he had for his sons. But for now, we hear no positive words for anyone. I hope you enjoyed my introduction to my Midrash about Jacob and the ways that his life changed and how it changed him. Shabbat Shalom, Parashat Vayigash.